Enough is just no longer enough. The old retirement model, it was designed for a world that was shorter, simpler, and honestly, way cheaper. And that world, it just doesn't exist anymore. Today, we're dealing with four completely invisible, silent forces that are actively eating away at your tank. Not loudly, and not all at once. They work like a really slow leak, just quietly draining your resources until one day you look down and wonder where the heck it all went. So let's meet these forces, starting with one that is brilliantly disguised as a complete blessing.
Time. Look, living a longer life is absolutely a wonderful blessing. We all want that. But financially speaking, it's actually a massive, totally unacknowledged risk. Every single extra year you live is another year your money has to stretch to cover food, bills, rent, medicine, all without you earning a single paycheck. Think about it. A generation ago, your parents' retirement might have lasted 10, maybe 15 years. Their savings really just had to bridge a short gap. But today, if you retire in your early 60s, you could easily spend 30 years without a salary. That isn't a gap, guys. That's literally an entire second lifetime. Imagine a couple, right? They both retire at 63. They're healthy, they're careful, they plan for a standard 20-year retirement. But what if one of them lives to 94? That's 31 years of withdrawals, meaning their financial plan ended 11 years before they did.
And the danger of this stretched timeline isn't just some abstract theory. According to 2026 data from the American College of Financial Services, there is a 41% higher chance of running out of money with just 5 extra retirement years. Just 5. Time quietly stretches your financial responsibilities right to the breaking point. And while you're busy dealing with that expanded timeline, our second killer is already hard at work reducing the value of whatever money you actually have left.
Which brings us to killer 2, inflation. Inflation is basically the thief that never actually announces itself. It slips right under the door, nudging prices upward so quietly that you don't even notice the damage in a single month. But let's look at the math across a 30-year retirement. According to the Randall Wealth Group, at just a super modest 3% annual inflation rate, $1,000 today is going to cost you $2,427 in 30 years. That means your daily living costs will literally more than double over the span of a modern retirement. And that's even if you never upgrade your lifestyle once. To really feel the pain of this, let's look at the drop in purchasing power. If you draw $5,000 a month right now, a 2.5% inflation rate shrinks its actual value to just $2,600 over 30 years. Picture a 74-year-old woman who retired at 62 on a really strict budget. She hasn't changed her lifestyle one bit. She's not going on wild shopping sprees or anything. Yet her grocery and electricity bills have doubled, while her fixed income hasn't moved an inch. She's just surviving. The whole comfortable myth that your expenses drop in retirement is exactly that, a total myth. All right, moving on to killer 3, hidden healthcare costs. So while inflation works incredibly slowly, healthcare arrives completely without a schedule and without mercy, usually in an envelope you definitely didn't budget for. And what makes it so brutal is that healthcare costs inflate at a staggering 5 to 7% per year. That is way faster than almost everything else in your budget. Let this number sink in for a second. $172,500. According to a 2025 estimate by Fidelity Investments, that is the average out-of-pocket medical spend per retiree during their entire retirement. And here's the absolutely terrifying part. That's just the baseline. It doesn't even include long-term care. It doesn't factor in assisted living or the daily support you might need as you age. And get this, as Britannica Money reported in 2025, nearly 70% of retirees are going to need some form of long-term care. Just imagine a 72-year-old guy just enjoying a nice, comfortable retirement. Then, on a perfectly ordinary Tuesday, he falls. Just a simple fall. One surgery, a month of recovery, and some rehabilitation later, he gets handed a bill that wipes out 2 full years of his savings in one fell swoop. The reality is, the older you get, the more your body needs, and the faster your budget can fall apart. And that leads us to our final and, honestly, most deceptive threat. Killer 4, the safety trap. Now, this one is super deceptive because it totally masquerades as wisdom. When people retire, the almost universal instinct is to move everything to safety, just to avoid those crazy market swings, right? You look at bonds, fixed deposits, cash, you just want to sleep well at night. But let's see how that actually plays out over 25 years. Retiree A keeps 20% in growth assets. Retiree B moves 100% into fixed conservative deposits. Well, after 2.5 decades, retiree A actually has more money than they started with. But retiree B, who chose total safety, they have less than half of their starting value. Why? because shifting entirely to fixed assets completely halts the exact growth you desperately need to outpace our second killer, inflation. I absolutely love this quote because it just hits the nail on the head. You don't need to lose money to fall behind. You only need to stop growing. Choosing stillness in a world that literally never stops moving guarantees a slow-motion financial decline. It just happens to have a very comfortable label attached to it. Honestly, being too conservative too early might just be the greatest single mistake retirees make today. So, what happens when all four collide?
You see, individually, these risks are survivable. But in reality, they don't take turns. They hit you all at once. You've got longevity stretching your lifespan to 30 years, inflation cutting your purchasing power in half, massive medical bills dropping out of nowhere, and a conservative portfolio growing way too slowly to keep up. That's when the quiet catastrophe really strikes, and people are definitely starting to wake up to this reality. Just look at this shocking statistic from an April 2025 Allianz Life study. 64%, that's nearly 2/3 of Americans, fear running out of money more than they fear death itself. No way, right? But this collision isn't some worst-case pessimistic scenario. It's actually the terrifying default scenario for anyone who planned for the world as it used to be, instead of the world as it is today.
But hey, we're not going to leave you hanging. Let's talk about surviving the four killers. We are definitely not going to end on fear here in this explainer. The very first step to surviving is just seeing the enemy clearly, right? Once you do that, you can actually build a bulletproof defense around your hard-earned savings. So here is your brand new survival guide. First up, plan for 30 years, not 15. That buffer isn't some luxury excess, it's basic survival. Second, you've got to factor in tomorrow's inflation. A lifestyle costing $5,000 today might easily demand $9,000 in 25 years. Plan for that higher number. Third, build a standalone healthcare reserve. Don't just bury it in your monthly budget, make it a completely separate pillar, because trust me, those bills are coming. And finally, keep your money growing. You need honest-to-goodness market growth so inflation cannot outrun you across those 3 decades. Which brings us to this really powerful takeaway. It is not the hardest workers who win retirement. It is the earliest aware. Awareness of these hidden systems is literally the fundamental difference between living in constant fear of running out of money and achieving true financial independence. The old system? Yeah, it's totally gone. But the new one can absolutely be mastered if you simply open your eyes to it and adjust your playbook.
Think about it. The dominoes are always falling in the background of our financial lives. The only question is, are you watching? I really hope this changed how you see a retirement strategy today. If it did, make sure you stick around as we continue to break down these hidden systems in future explainers before they become real problems in your life. Stay focused, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next one.